Hi Gemini, I'm Jenny Fitterer and welcome to your December Tarotscope. I have a single card for you for the month of December. The first 2/3 of December is Sagittarius season, and then we have the December solstice initiating Capricorn season. And the card that we have for you this month is the Six of Wands. So this is the way he looks. We have this kind of knight here, and he's on his horse. He's got these big ones behind him, and he's holding one of them like a lance here. This little kind of white sash there. And then down below, we have this small kind of child humanoid figure. Could be reaching up, maybe reaching for him, could be like holding him back. And that's what the picture looks like. Okay, so we're just going to go to the book, see what the Six of Wands has for you this month. Okay, Gemini, Six of Wands. Gaining strength. At first glance, the picture seems to show a proud and strong horseman. At second glance, however, we discover that he is holding only one of the 6 wands in his hand. 5 wands remain in the background. On the left, we see a small, faceless figure. It represents man's proverbial inner child. We may rightfully assume that this aspect of the rider is underdeveloped as the figure is drawn so sketchily and with no face. As long as the rider fails to accept his inner child, and as long as he exploits only a fraction of the powers at his disposal, only one of 6 wands, he will be driven by childish motives and fears, without even being aware of it. We often assume that we have to suppress our weaknesses in order to become proud and strong. The picture shows us that in reality, the opposite is true. If you acknowledge strengths as well as weaknesses, you will become much stronger. See the horse and the energy of the 5 additional wands. The 5 wands represent influences and events that are beyond your control. If you know your strengths and your weaknesses, you will become much more flexible. Thus, you enhance your ability to cooperate with your destiny. You need to reconcile yourself with your inner child and with your own animalistic aspects. You must make peace with your own imperfections and say goodbye to many immature habits. This process of growing up is represented by the ring and the single wand, which symbolize the differences between, as well as the unification of the feminine and the masculine. A mature sexuality makes demands on your personal power and enhances it, vitalizing your self-confidence. It is important to recognize the feminine and the masculine as 2 aspects of your own personality. Practical advice: do not be intimidated and don't intimidate others. Stand up for what moves you and go for it wholeheartedly. Okay, Gemini, you got one of the inner child cards. Okay, but this one is... This really does feel like it's kind of odd. Like we talk about doing inner child work kind of a lot, but what this is really kind of showing to me, this kind of feels like the whole Dorothy and Oz the ruby slippers thing of like you have the power the whole time, but you spend the whole journey looking outward for it when really it's inward. What we're kind of seeing is like this, if we're looking at these wands as like energy, as capacity, and vivacity to be able to do the things that you want to do in your life, he's only got one, but all the rest of them are right there behind him. It's not like I'm going on a quest. These wands are scattered across the globe and he has to go and find them. And once he has them all, he'll have the power to do what he wants to do. It's this, you've got them already. You just aren't accessing them. So this idea of our inner fire, our capacity, our strengths and our weaknesses, our willpower, all of that is things that we have and that we need to discover and learn how to utilize and reconcile with and deal with the blocks and the traumas that are happening that are hiding those things from us or making us afraid to go get them. It isn't this big grand external quest of you don't have it and you have to go and get it. You have to realize it and access it and then just go and reach for the things that are already there the whole time. So, but that's tricky. It's often scarier. It's often, we'd kind of rather have the quest. Like, just give me the instructions, tell me where to go, give me somebody to fight a villain that'll make me feel really excited, get my adrenaline up so I can go and get it, and then I can like get the check mark of the quest instead of, nope, big surprise, it's actually you. It's actually your inner child. It's actually, the villains are usually trauma, usually societal, intergenerational, whatever it is. Like the villains are harder to find than just a big scary monster. They're systems and they're internalized as well. So this card is really the mature warrior here, the mature knight, is reconciled with this inner child and understands his weaknesses as well as his strengths, and that knowing your weaknesses and your strength is a strength. unequivocally. Whatever your weaknesses are, doesn't matter. Will be stronger because you have acknowledged them and integrated them than if you've tried to suppress them. Because then that's going to be like that wand there, that inside our weaknesses is often a greater strength, or if we are hiding from our weakness, that is in and of itself a trap waiting for us, because we're always terrified of it. We're always hoping nobody finds it. We're hoping we're not called upon, and that saps our energy. You may as well just hand those wands, throw them in the garbage, because you're just afraid of, fear is a very constricting, contracting, energy sapping thing, and we are afraid of that which isn't integrated. So as long as you're afraid of your weaknesses being discovered, you cannot utilize your strengths properly. And likewise, if only all we see is our weaknesses, and we refuse to pick up our wands, we refuse to acknowledge that we have strength and power because we're so enveloped by our weaknesses and our fears that we don't even acknowledge that which we're good at, or we minimize it, or we think other people are better than us, then both those are ways that we just have all of this power behind us that we're not accessing. So how do we do that? Well, we're in season right now. We're in Sagittarius season, and Sagittarius is all about the quest for truth. So if there's ever a season where you're going to be able to look at with a little bit less judgment that which is true for you, that which is, the truth of those weaknesses you might have, or the truth of some of the blocks, or what is restricting that inner child from integrating and growing up into your adult self. We did just come from Scorpio season, and Scorpio season, usually just pulls up a lot of stuff. We'd had 2 eclipses in Scorpio season as well, so if we've just had weakness, fear, trauma, blah, all come up and experience or re-triggered, Sagittarius season is now, we're let's take this big, bright, shining fire light of Sagittarius season, and let's look at what has come up. Let's look at these fears. Let's look at these issues, these past traumas, and let's look at them with this deep, deep thirst for the truth. It doesn't have a preconceived desire. It doesn't have an agenda. It just wants to know what's true. And if the firm, real desire is just to know the truth, then even if the truth is really yucky, embarrassing, weak, uncomfortable, at least it's true. And there's this deep satisfaction from knowing that that somebody is when somebody's asking you a question and they really want to know the answer, and you can tell that they're not just sitting and fishing or waiting for something, or waiting for you to say the right word, or sitting there in judgment. When you truly sit across from somebody and they're just wanting to know what's going on. I kind of picture this I work in healthcare, and so if a doctor or healthcare practitioner is asking you questions, sometimes we think of loaded judgments on there. They're asking how much do you drink, or did you do your exercises, or have you ever experienced this and this and that? And we're used to thinking of it from the judgment, the parent that's about to discipline you, and you're no, or oh, I do, but I'm trying to quit, or oh yeah, and you're thinking already trying to defend yourself. But really what the practitioner, they just need to know the truth so that they can help you better. And as soon as you give them the truth, and then they're great, hopefully you're working with a practitioner who isn't then being in judgment, they're just now better able to help you. It's kind of that feeling of, first we can kind of squirm away because we don't really believe that somebody really wants to know the truth, and that's what will make them happy, and that's what will move this thing forward. And so if you can do that for yourself, if you can sit with yourself and just try to see what the truth of the experience is, try to see what this inner child is here, try to see what those wands are back there, and no matter how yucky it seems like it will be, in Sagittarius season, we just get this extra, hunger for the truth, which just is really, really helpful to just put that judgment aside. Then we have the solstice, and then that initiates Capricorn season. And Capricorn is very goal-oriented, often feels it can feel if I was talking about discipline, or we can feel kind of nervous of people judging us. Capricorn does have a key word is discipline, but discipline not as in punishment, discipline as in restricting excess, and really focusing in on what the goal is. So discipline is in the discipline it requires to wake up and commit to an exercise, or the discipline it is to continue with a really long-standing goal, or to show up for work every day when you're tired, or the discipline to to like show up for your kids if you're a parent, even if you're really tired, you just don't really want to. That kind of discipline. It's more tied to integrity, and it's more tied to the way that we must kind of narrow our focus in order to achieve mastery of something. So we will come from that Sagittarius like quest for truth into a more practical, okay, now that we have the truth, how do we utilize it? And let's get the goal. All right, we found these truths, we've dealt with these issues, and now let's really work on getting these wands back. Let's really work on getting this energy back so that we can now move forward with it and not be stuck with like half of our energy. We can actually move towards our goals and not get burnt out. Because if we are working on our goals and we're overworking, but we haven't gotten back that energy that's been hidden from us, then Capricorn season is burnout time. So we can approach Capricorn season with a lot more excitement and energy if we've done the work to reclaim that energy that's been lost from us through all of these sort of issues. So that's what's coming up for you, Gemini, this month. No big deal. Inner child work, dealing with your traumas, and gaining back all of your mojo. So that's what's hopefully happening this month. If you want any assistance getting your mojo back, and you are wanting a little bit more information on the planetary transits that are happening as well, we do have a Mars retrograde in Gemini still, so that's going to make some of this moving forward energy feel a little bit scattered. But if you're interested in understanding a little bit more of the transits that are happening this month, or at least until the solstice, the Sagittarius season Pay What You Can forecast is up and available on the YouTube channel. Appreciate all of the donations. They really help me keep making this content, and that will just aid you as you navigate this whole grand adventure. Best of luck, Gemini, and I'll see you next month.